Then, what makes Circulate Plus unique in such a convenient way to naturally boost nitric oxide?
Well, nitric oxide is a really tiny molecule that has such a massive impact on our overall health. I mean, it's a natural gas that our body produces, and it acts as a signaling molecule, meaning that it basically is a chemical messenger that controls a lot of vital functions in the body. And what's interesting is that we used to think that nitric oxide was just a toxic pollutant from like engine exhaust. And this is a very recent discovery. I started in USANA in 1997, and the Nobel Prize in Physiology for the discovery of the cardiovascular benefits of nitric oxide was in 1998. So this is fairly recent. And it's an interesting story because there was a scientist who discovered that there was a molecule within the endothelial cells of the vessels that released a substance that relaxed the blood vessels. And he called it endothelial derived relaxing factor. And then another scientist came along and realized that nitroglycerin and drugs like that for like, people that take nitroglycerin for like angina and heart issues, that it worked because it released nitric oxide. And then it took a third person to put two and two together, connect all the dots, and prove that the endothelial relaxing factor was nitric oxide. And that then became the Nobel Prize winning discovery in 1998. So this is something I've kind of followed the whole time. There was a lot of products jumping in early on. Taking science and then making something practical that works is not as easy as people may think. So this has been kind of a work in progress for a long time. So um, I love having that kind of little background information as to why this is such an important molecule, because really, I can't think of anything in the body that is not improved or supported with good circulation. So I'll definitely go in and answer your question in more detail about what's in it and how it works for everybody and how to take it and all that. So
That's so awesome. I just learned something else new. Thank you, Russ, for that. So helpful. And we do have a few more questions for you. So,
sure.
guide us deeper. Let's go over the ingredients. Who is Circulate Plus really designed for? For example, what are some of the key benefits and how can we use it practically? And also, let's go over how simple it is to add Circulate Plus in our daily routine. How about if we tackle those
Perfect.
questions?
We can do that. Let me share my screen. Let's see. All right, are we good? Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay, so as we said, this is it's a natural nitric oxide drink powder. Now we'll discuss the fact that it doesn't contain nitric oxide. It contains ingredients that help support and produce nitric oxide. So when we say it's a nitric oxide powder, it really, like I said, nitric oxide is a gas, so it's not actually nitric oxide in there. So we'll explain how that works. So let's look at the ingredients, and this is really important because, as I said, it took a lot of work and a lot of time to put together the right ingredients that all work together in synergy to really, really uh, make sure that we're providing the right tools to support nitric oxide. Now, a lot of nitric oxide products on the market have beets or are beet juice or beet derived. That's where we started because that is the most common. Unfortunately, what we found though through bringing in all these raw materials and testing them and doing analysis on them, we found a huge variation in nitrate levels from the different beet products. In fact, some of them, and some of the more popular ones, had little to no nitrate content at all. So going back to the drawing board, looking for a raw material that would provide a really good amount of nitrates, and I'll explain why nitrates are important. We ended up with red spinach. Now, red spinach is a variety of spinach that has red leaves, stems, and veins. It gets its coloring from a beta carotene cousin known as beta cyanin. But its biggest benefit is that it's very high in nitrates. And why that's important is because nitrates in the product, when you consume the product, nitrates in the product are converted to nitrites in your mouth. And then those nitrites travel through the digestive system into the gut in an acidic environment, basically, and are then converted to nitric oxide. And I'll explain a little bit more how that happens, but that's the main first and foremost ingredient, was finding a good source, reliable, high quality source of nitrates. And it ended up being red spinach. Now it doesn't mean don't eat beets in your diet. Beets are good, but they just vary an awful lot, and certainly were not to our satisfaction with the raw materials we received. So that's one way to increase nitric oxide, is having the nitrate containing spinach extract that's then converted through different pathways into nitric oxide. The second ingredient I want to talk about is L-arginine. L-arginine is an amino acid. Now that, once you consume that travels through the digestive system and is converted to nitric oxide in the blood vessels themselves, in the circulation itself, by an enzyme known as NOS, or nitric oxide synthase. So now you're getting nitric oxide production two different ways. You're getting it from the red spinach nitrates that are converted in the mouth, and then also from the arginine going into the blood vessels and being converted there. And then to really support this product, the two supporting ingredients are grapeseed extract and vitamin C. Grapeseed extract, most of you are probably familiar with what grapeseed extract is. It's the same quality extract that we use in our proflavanol C product. And grapeseed has it's rich in compounds known as proanthocyanidins. And what this grapeseed extract does is it actually stimulates or activates that nitric oxide synthase enzyme. So it kind of pairs with and activates the enzyme that converts L-arginine to nitric oxide. So it's got a real synergistic benefit there. And also grapeseed extract has, as most of you know, really good benefits for the health of your blood vessels and the structure of your blood vessels as well. And the vitamin C then, it also assists in nitric oxide synthase activity, and it also acts as an antioxidant to preserve, or at least prolong slightly, the life of nitric oxide. Nitric oxide as a signaling molecule, it only lasts about 2 to 6 seconds in the body. So it's one of those things you're not, because I've had this question before, how long does this last in the body? It's not really about the nitric oxide molecule itself. It's about the machinery that keeps producing it over and over again. And what I forgot to say was, with the L-arginine, when that is converted in the blood vessel to nitric oxide. As a byproduct of that reaction, it gives off another compound known as L-citrulline, and L-citrulline can then be recycled back and back to L-arginine. So it's kind of like this cycle that just keeps running. So the point with all this is that these ingredients promote good activity and good conversion to nitric oxide, and they just do it consistently and recycle each other. The vitamin C is important in not only protecting nitric oxide and assisting in nitric oxide activity, it also helps make sure that the nitrates or nitrites are converted to nitric oxide and not nitrosamines, which nitrosamines are a compound you don't want it converted to. So in the environment of the stomach where it's acidic, especially vitamin C helps make sure it converts in the right direction. So there's just so much more to this product. I'm just very excited. I'm sorry, I'm rambling just a little bit because every one of these ingredients was selected for a very specific reason, and they all act very synergistically with each other. So to kind of recap why this product is unique and how it works, as we said, this product targets two different pathways. On the one side here, you have the nitrates from the red spinach that you eat. They're converted by bacteria in the back of the tongue, in your saliva, to nitrites, and then in the gut to nitric oxide. Within the vessel itself, the other ingredients, along with help from grapeseed extract and vitamin C, are then converted to nitric oxide. So most products only do one or the other. Very few products out there have both pathways covered the way we do. And it's important because you may have situations where maybe your salivary pathway isn't working quite as well. If you have to be on an antibiotic or an antimicrobial mouthwash, for example, that will influence and impact negatively the microbes in your tongue. So it may not convert as efficiently. But then you can be assured with this product that we're covered in both ways. So even if you're not converting it as effectively from intake or from the nitrates, you still are going to be converting it from the L-arginine pathway. There was something I wanted to mention there too. I'm trying to think.
So Russ, while you're thinking, we're getting a couple of questions
Okay.
in the chat. Perhaps if you could clarify or elaborate on how are the nitrates different from sodium nitrates?
Well, it's a different compound, but the nitrates themselves are the same. And that's why I pointed out that what you hear sometimes is nitrates. You sometimes hear negative information on nitrates because they can be converted to nitrosamines, and that's usually associated with processed meat, deli meats. You see the nitrates in deli meats and so on. That's why also, if you look at a lot of more quality, I say quality, but quality deli meats, you'll see that they have sodium ascorbate or some vitamin C compound in the ingredients as well. And that is to add a layer of safety so that they're converted to nitrites and not nitrosamines. So where we're doing it, because of the way you're taking it and you have vitamin C present right up front, that makes it vastly different than, say, a sodium nitrate that you would be getting in a processed meat. Does that make sense?
It does. It does. That was really great. There's one more question You could tackle it now or
Sure,
later.
sure, sure.
Could you explain the sugar level on this product?
Oh, I will tackle that later because that
Okay.
question came up and I actually have a label at the end of the presentation so we can go over that. That's a great question though. Very good question. So how does the product work? I mean, you've seen kind of how the product works and why it's important. What can you expect with the use of this product? And like I said before, uh, there are really no body systems I can think of that are not somehow affected or dependent on good circulation. So people may have various, varying degrees of experience with this right from the beginning. There may be some people that even feel maybe a slight tingling or a warming or, a feeling of their blood vessels um, expanding and allowing better blood flow. I wouldn't expect that for most people, but there are people sensitive enough to that. And so if you do experience that or somebody that you're talking to does, just be assured it's not an allergic reaction or a negative. That's actually a good thing. So don't be freaked out. But really, overall, long term, what you really should be able to expect is improved vitality, better mental focus, uh, possibly better overall energy levels. And again, this is not a stimulant or and as someone pointed out earlier to me, Michael, an energy drink or something like that. This is really training your body to uh, keep this cycle of nitric oxide going at an efficient level all the time, which helps your blood vessels expand and contract and deliver all the nutrients and oxygen that you need. So because of that, there's so many different ways you can use the product, and everybody will have kind of their favorite way of doing it. I have mine. You could start off using it in the morning as kind of a morning boost and kind of getting your mental focus going right from the beginning. Um, you could use it as a pre-workout or a pre-activity drink. And I will say that the nitric oxide levels peak at about 2 hours, but that doesn't mean you're not going to benefit within like a half an hour. I usually, before I go to the gym, I've been doing a thing where I mix the Circulate with core aminos and just drink it about a half an hour to 45 minutes before workout. So sometime during the workout, I have noticed the last few times I've got a little bit better circulation and a little bit better pump with the weights I'm lifting. But I have even a better story. If you'll indulge me, I've got a story here. My wife and I and son go work out regularly, and she's out of town a lot. So on one day a week, we go over to a gym that has um, a cardio cinema where she can do a treadmill, and she's been doing this treadmill on an incline and trying to do a half an hour and really get it going. Well, the last couple weeks, it's been really hard for her. She's barely made it to a half an hour without being kind of exhausted. And the other day, I got out the Circulate packets and had her drink a Circulate packet. Then we forgot all about it and we ran some errands. And about an hour and a half later, we were at the gym. And while my son and I were lifting weights, she was in there on the treadmill. And more than a half an hour had gone by. It was about 40 minutes instead of half an hour. And she walked out with this huge grin, this big smile on her face. And I was like, what is going on? You must have killed it. And she goes, I did. And again, we didn't put two and two together, but on the way home, I was like, hey, do you think maybe it was the drink? And she's thought for a second. She's like, I don't know, maybe. And then over the next hour or two, she goes, yeah, I definitely think it was. So anyway, that's my new story. And my wife had a great workout. But anyway, you might find that beneficial for activities that you're doing as well. You might use it for like an afternoon slump, that time after in the middle of the afternoon where things kind of slow down, at least they do for me at my age. Um, or even at night. Again, this isn't a stimulant, so it is something you can take at night. And if you think about it, during the night is when all the cleanup in your brain happens and all the restoration and repair work is going on. So it's a great time to really have your circulation working at peak levels. So yeah, you don't want to think of it only as like an energy thing like we typically think of energy drinks. Just think of, you know, circulation taking out the garbage and providing nutrients and oxygen throughout the body. So however it works best for you, where you can do it consistently, the better. I will say too that this is um, your body does get better and your oral microbiome gets more efficient at converting nitrates to nitrites the more often you eat this, the more often you take this, or the more often you eat nitrate containing foods. So if at the beginning you don't notice as much, or we'll talk about the test strips in a minute. If it's not really obvious at first, keep taking it and you will see some improvement in how that shows up. So like all of our products, this product is clinically backed, it's scientifically studied. Again, taking advantage of both of those different pathways is really important. The red spinach, again, a superior source of certainly much more consistent and superior from our research as far as providing nitrates over beets. And I mentioned it being inspired from that Nobel Prize winning discovery of nitric oxide role in cardiovascular health. And then, of course, it's made in our state-of-the-art FDA registered and certified GMP certified facility. So, you know, every batch is made with really strict standard operating procedures, and the potency and purity you can be assured is top quality. Well, you know, what you see on the label is what you're getting in the product. So one of the really interesting things with this product that we don't often have the chance with other products is you not only can feel the difference, but with these nitric oxide test strips, you can actually see the results. And what they are, they test these nitric oxide test strips are measuring the nitrite levels in your saliva. And again, so those are the levels of nitrates that have been converted from the food you've just eaten. And it's the precursor to nitric oxide. So it gives you a good estimate of your nitric oxide levels. And I don't want to get into too much of how to use them, because there are instructions on the bottle and also on Ask the Scientist webpage, but they're pretty simple to use. And to show you what they look like, our science, our health and science education team actually did this yesterday while we had a staff meeting. The four of us did our own test, drank the product, an hour later retook the test. So the top one is the before and the bottom one is the after. And what those two different numbers, or what the two different colors are a measure of the nitrite levels and also kind of a measure of the your microbiomes. It's a measure of the certain bacteria in the microbiome. So you'll want both of them to kind of turn a pink color, and then you can match them to a chart on the back of the bottle. And again, there'll be lots of individual questions with the strips, and I can always answer those questions. And if you go to askthescientist.com, we have a section on the Circulate Plus product, we actually have a section on just the test strips as well. But this is a great way of, actually seeing that it's doing something after you take the product. So yeah, we still have a little extra time this time, so I figured we might as well go over the label itself. One of the first questions that, Yanni, the question you asked was about sugars. And I understand that because if you look at the ingredients, or if you look at the supplement facts, it says 0 added sugars. And then if you look at the ingredients, it says about the 5th or 6th ingredient says sugar cane, then stevia, mixed sweetener, and monk fruit extract. The reason it's 0 is because there's so little actual sugar cane in there. It's less than a half a gram. And so by labeling rules, it's basically 0. And part of the reason we're able to keep it so low is because of the mixture of the other sweeteners and stuff we have in there. The monk fruit, probably many people are familiar with monk fruit, but the mixed sweetener is interesting. There's a sweetener that we've never used before that's got gentian root and thaumatin. Thaumatin was something unfamiliar to me until we started researching this product. And it's not even a sugar. It's actually a protein from a berry of a West African plant. And it's about 2,000 to 3,000 times more sweet than sugar, but it's not even actually a sugar. So it's very interesting. It's got a very, like, its sweetness is subtle and then lasts a little bit longer. The gentian root is kind of a bitter root it's from the Alps or the Himalayas, but the little bitterness in there helps mask some of the other flavors. And the reason I'm saying this is we have products like Booster C, probiotic, some of those others that are in sachets that if you were just in a hurry, you could just dump it in your mouth and they're not so bad. Don't do that with this one because you'll get a very earthy spinach dirt flavor. It's wonderful when you mix it with water. It's got a really nice mild mandarin orange flavor. But yeah, from what I've been told a few different times now, don't try it straight. So anyway, some of these ingredients are in there as combinations to really mask flavors, kind of add to the different things and make it feel sweeter than it really is. But the carbohydrate content is less than a half a gram, or the sugar content. So you see on here, there's 170 milligrams of grapeseed extract. So it's essentially a proflavanol 200, pretty close to the same dosage in one of those tablets. So another question that comes up, if somebody's taking 3 or 4 of the proflavanol tablets, is it okay to take this with that? I would just substitute out one of the proflavanol tablets. If you were going to do that, they do different things, but if you were going to mix and match them, just assume that this is the same, basically similar dosage to a proflavanol 200. There's 1,000 milligrams of the L-arginine and 556 milligrams of the red spinach extract. That's not really that important. It doesn't mean anything to you, but it's 9% nitrate. That's what's meaningful. Most of the other products, like I said, the beet products we tested, most of them didn't even standardize it. And the ones that did, I think I saw like 4%. And we even had a situation where the raw material supplier sent us the certificate of analysis of a certain claimed percentage of nitrates. We tested it and got nothing. went back to them, they said, "Oh no, it's in there for sure." And we tested again and nothing. So, uh, yeah, you don't always get what it says out there apparently. So, uh, it took us more than a year to find that red spinach extract raw material. So it was a, a search. Um, Man, I'm trying to think if there's anything else I want to add that I didn't go over
I-
last time.
It's phenomenal. We
Uh,
do have a couple of other questions, if I may.
sure.
One of the most frequent asked questions, are there any restriction to taking Circulate Plus with people with low blood pressure versus high blood pressure? Any contraindications?
That is a really good question because I would I'm not comfortable giving a really solid answer on that because there's so many levels of high and low blood pressure and so many different medications. But I would think, especially if you're on the low blood pressure side, if you have orthostatic hypotension, where you stand up and your blood pressure drops and you almost pass out. I don't know. It's not super common, but if you have issues with very low blood pressure, you might want to consult the pharmacist or your health professional just to make sure. Um, but within a wide range of normal, kind of normally low and normally high, it should be fine. Yeah. So just, I mean, on the extremes, and it depends if you're on a lot of different medications, I would probably ask just to make sure. But for the vast majority of us that are kind of a little ways off either way, or it should be good.
Awesome. That's really great. And we have time for one more question. But before we go into that, Russ, how about if, because we have someone here to share a quick testimonial, and I would love for Michael Hollander to turn on his camera and let us know how is this amazing product making a difference in real life? And by those who don't know who Michael is, he lives in Florida. He's an Emerald director and he's phenomenal. So, Michael, tell us about
Um,
the product.
well, first of all, I want to thank Russ. Russ, you're amazing. You explain things in terms that we understand, and you go deep and you answer questions properly. And I just really appreciate all you do for this company, Russ Barton. You've been there for a long time, and you are a backbone.
I've known you the whole time I've been here, right?
I know, and
Yeah.
You keep bailing me out, and
Since last century.
I appreciate you so much,
You too. You too.
I love to watch your transformation with your own working out. You got guns, you got cannons, buddy. No,
Okay.
at any rate, yeah. So
Can't build muscle over 60.
thank you for the opportunity to share a little bit. I was part of the test group before the product was launched. I guess there were several of us. I don't know how many, but I was part of the test group, and I didn't really have much information on this. But I received 5 packets and 10 test strips, and conflicting information about how to start with it, but kind of figured it out. And my first day, to Russ's point, I had a little bit of tingling, but I didn't think it was allergic. I really felt that it was an increase somehow in circulation. But when I asked Shelley Baxter, one of the scientists, she indicated that that's what it was, and she had the same thing. So take what Russ said to heed. It doesn't happen with everybody apparently, but and my third day of taking Circulate Plus, I didn't even know the name of it back then, I don't think. I don't know how to explain this, but it wasn't energy like from an energy drink. It wasn't energy like from caffeine. It was this internal motivation, this mental, physical motivation to bust a move, to do something, to work out. And there was, no question, the test strips that I was using, they were indicating an increase. But now I was feeling something, and it was measurable and marketed for me. And I was just, I said, wow, there's something going on here. Of course, a little better, didn't have the same thing on the fourth or the fifth day, but the clarity was there. I'd say mental clarity, additional focus, and then I didn't have it. And then I had to wait till convention. So at convention, the last night, I had maybe 2 hours of sleep. And the next morning, I took it first thing and we hopped in an Uber. And I think it was probably about 40 minutes before we were approaching the airport. And it was like I moved from a comatose state to somebody flipped the light switch. I'm not kidding. I mean, I'm commenting to Barbara, Barbara, something's going on here. Somebody's turned on the lights. I mean, my mind is working. There's clarity. I'm speaking fast like I usually speak. I was amazed. Something was happening. And it obviously was increased blood flow and oxygen and nutrients getting to where they needed to be, which is what vasodilation does, apparently. And so that really was marketed for, was a major change for me. My son Jordan, on Sunday, I sent him up samples. I've been sending everybody samples and selling product. My son Jordan is a skeptic, and I'm FaceTiming him on Sunday morning. It's a long FaceTime. I'm trying to find out if he tried the samples yet. He's like had a rough night. He's going, I say, go over to the sink, grab a glass, 8 to 10 ounces of water, rip open a packet right now, put it in there, mix it up. He drank it down. We continued to talk about other stuff. I almost forgot that I made him do that. And all of a sudden he said, I think I feel something. And he actually convinced me that he felt more energetic. He said it's not like an energy drink. It's not like a caffeine buzz. There's something internal. It's like a physical, I don't even know how to describe it, but he did. And it was something, it was definitely a difference that he felt. Whether you feel a difference or not, is not important. What is important is that this is not like a one and done deal. As you heard Russ talk, this is a product that you need to use consistently to be able to get the desired results of improved blood flow over time. As you get older, thinner blood vessels, and less blood circulation, and it takes a while to get back there. So whether you feel something or not, test strips are a good marker for that. Last testimonial, and then I'm done. Is Barbara is not napping anymore. This is bizarre. But usually she would nap around the same time for the last week since, and she's been on this like since convention. Since then, she notices, I'm noticing it, but she's saying, I'm not napping. And that's amazing. And I'm getting responses to that too. So I got a lot more testimonials, but create your own testimonial. What do I recommend for my brand partners, my team? I recommend you buy 2 boxes where you get the test strips for free. That's a $30 savings that you'll get. Additionally, you then have 1 box for you, and you have test strips and samples that you can sample out, and you can improve other people's lives and show them the benefits that Circulate Plus is going to give them. I'm done.
Awesome.
I couldn't agree more, Michael. I'm 2-3 weeks in and I'm already on the second box. So, so it's a good deal to get the 2 boxes with the strips.
I saw the box today. The guy doesn't want to wait. He's coming over tomorrow and pick it up.
And I wanted to mention too, though, and I didn't touch on how easy it is to mix and use. I mean, I've been in a hurry. Sometimes I just throw it in some water, mix it up and drink it down. That's fine. I've mixed it with other things. It's really a pretty simple, dissolves really easily. So be creative, just play with it a little bit, see what timing works best for you, see what use is your favorite, and just I want to hear what you say a month out.
That's awesome. And what a great way to wrap up this quick training call. I just want to say thank you to Michael for sharing that experience in your household, by the way. Love it. Soon into the whole community, I hope. And Russ, let's tackle one more question before we wrap up. So the question that I have seen, it's on what about for athletes, Olympic athletes, is NSF sport approved?
I don't know if because it's so new, I don't know that we have gone through the certification process yet. But this certainly will not be something that would be prohibited. It's not considered a performance enhancing drug or anything like that. And again, we're just concentrating and utilizing nitrates that if we were eating a lot of spinach and beets and stuff, you should be getting nitrates in your diet from leafy greens and stuff anyway. We just, like for most nutrients, we just don't do it very consistently. So I don't know if that's even been approached yet. But I can't see anything that would be prohibited or be a problem with it though.
Awesome. Yeah, that was a great question as well. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, our time is up, and thank you. Thank you so much again, Ross.
Thanks for letting me talk.
So, our audience, thank you for Ross bringing the science to life.